You guys remember a Tennessee pastor out of Knoxville that was kidnapped in the midst of the congregation at the moment he was having service. I believe this was back in April 1st-ish, around that time. Well, he has an amazing story. He has been rescued, but his story is only God. East Tennessee pastor recounts a miracle rescue after kidnapping in South Africa. Now remember, he was abducted at gunpoint from his pulpit. He has since returned home, he and his family, to the United States. But what a story of faith, and how a miracle unfolded after 6 days of being held captive. Try to get through this without crying. The Eastern Cape Providence, where they had church planting missionaries led of life on a mission to share the gospel. Now, his 30-minute interview is posted on my Telegram at Country Crazy News. You can also go to the news channel and watch it as well. They sat down with Lori Tucker, okay, saying that as they shared their story of Josh's kidnapping and rescue, that they wanted to be intentional to keep the focus on the sovereign hand of God that got them through. On April 10th, Josh Sullivan was preaching in his prayer meeting when 4 armed men broke into the Fellowship Baptist Church in Motherwell Township. Now, his wife Megan recounts how many thoughts went through her mind in the first few moments. Now, this church was mainly attended by women and children. So they noticed that when these men came in, they had firearms. They thought the realization that they would be robbed. Came in a few minutes that was into the service that his eyes went black for a moment, and he wondered what had happened because he didn't see it coming. He said then he heard his wife speaking to one of the other individuals they were looking for, the car keys to our vehicle, and then I was on the ground after that, he recalled. Ultimately, the men took Josh to a location where he was kept for 122 hours. He said the men who kidnapped him were seeking a ransom of 5 million rand, which is worth upwards of $250,000. The couple explained that kidnapping for ransoms in this region are something that seems to be frequent, a statement to Align's BBC report, that there has been a dramatic increase in kidnapping for ransom in South Africa over the past decade. Josh recounted that the men who were keeping him offered him food and water frequently, but when it came to the phone calls they had him make for ransom money, they would say things to him to try to make him afraid. Throughout those 6 days, Josh Sullivan said that it was hard to tell how much time was passing. He knew when the sun rose and set, but other than that, not much happened to show the passing of time. On the final day, he said there were mixed signals from the men on if he would be staying at the home another night or if they would be taking him to another location. That night, another man he had not seen before brought him his shoes and told him they were leaving. That night, Josh describes how he felt the hand of the Lord intervene. Before that point, the men had used the shoelaces from Josh Sullivan's shoes to bind his hands. So the shoelaces had to be put back into the shoes. Then as they led him to the vehicle with his head covered, he said he tripped on multiple steps because he could not see where he was going. All these actions slowed down the process, which the men were attempting to make go as quickly as possible. Once they were finally in the vehicle, Josh Sullivan's head was in one of the men's laps when shots rang out. Now this is God. The South African police station previously said that multiple discovery law enforcement operations known as the Hawks, led by the Decorated Priority Crime Investigating, rescued Josh. But Josh explains that the officers who rescued him were actually going to a different location and made a wrong turn. Woo, Holy Spirit. That mistake led officers to the home he was being kept at, where the men who were holding him opened fire. The South African Police Service described what followed as a high-intensity shootout. Once the gunfire ended, an officer checking the scene was surprised to find Josh Sullivan alive and asked if he was the American pastor that had been kidnapped. Since his rescue, the family has returned to the United States to rest and recover. But both Josh and his wife Megan said that they feel they will go back to South Africa. Josh explains that they feel strongly that the gospel message needs to be shared in South Africa. Megan, his wife, added that if she was asked years ago, she would not have believed she would have such a strong love and calling to the people of South Africa. But when her husband's ready, they plan to return to the mission field and continue their life's work of helping save souls. Now, if you're interested in supporting the Sullivans, you can visit at www.32thrive.org. The family also shares prayer letters and for more information about their work on their website. A miracle. Cut you crazy out.